Hello, it's me, the real Vince, according to you guys for some reason.
Absolutely not. What the fuck?
So there's this SCP content creator that I've been wanting to make a video on for a while now. However, I didn't really want to do anything at first because I didn't want to give unnecessary attention to them because they really don't deserve it. However, YouTube has been promoting them a lot lately and they've been gaining a lot in the SCP community, which just proves every day that you don't need to work hard and succeed at YouTube. And I figured might as well throw the old hazmat suit on and take this garbage out myself since nobody else seems to be doing it. Now, before we jump into this, I want to remind everyone not to go around bullying this person or their channel. In fact, smiles go the miles, and I think we can all just get together and live, laugh, love our way through this horrid experience. But without further ado, we're going to be analyzing and going in depth on their last few releases and going over what's wrong with them. So buckle up your seatbelts and hang on tight because this ride is going to get bumpy. Hi, Editor Wide here from the future. I just want to remind you not to give this creator any extra attention by mentioning their name directly in the comments below. Just say like he or that idiot or whatever. Again, don't really want to give them too much energy or, anything like that. So yeah, that's about it. Back to the video. This person is, of course, SCP Wyatt. Now, before you go running off and checking yourself into a mental hospital because I just afflicted you with a cognito hazard like I cast a Harry Potter spell on you by saying his name out loud like Voldemort, let's break all this stuff down because it does get pretty wacky, and like I said, this dude's a villain and we need to go over this. So first off, he made a video dissecting SCP Containment Breach, and right off the rip, it starts off pretty poorly. He begins by questioning the opening of the game and how SCP-173 Peanut can teleport seemingly between floors and can sort of go into vents and through doors and stuff when it's obviously very clear how it happens. It's just you and the lonely boy one-on-one. Then the lights go out again and he seems to have somehow teleported to the second floor of this room to attack this guy, busted down this railing here somehow, and then teleported into and through this vent in the middle of the ceiling? What? You see, SCP-173 simply moves so fast, he just ricochets off of things and onto different levels where he needs to be. Like take the top floor air vent, for example. It's very obvious SCP-173 simply projectiled himself at high speeds off the ledge and ricocheted off of the railing into the air vent like a dodgeball bouncing off a kid's face. He also questions why heavy containment is closer to the entrance zone than light containment, if that just means all the SCPs will escape faster. Think about the layout of this facility here for a bit. You start off in light containment where all of the easy to contain SCPs are located. You have to make your way through heavy containment and then through the entrance zone offices before you can finally escape. But why is heavy containment closer to the entrance of the facility than light containment? Shouldn't they be switched around so you can put all of the worst SCPs way farther into the facility? And while that makes sense at first, obviously if you take a tour of a real-life prison, they're going to put all of their maximum security prisoners by the front door so that if there's ever like a prison break, they can just be recaptured faster. It's just common sense, and he just sounds like an idiot when he says things like, they should be further in the facility so they don't get out faster. That's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. And I just want to mention real quick here, SCP-Y got a lot of hate, as he should have. In the video, he goes over the basement and SCP-939, and he mentions he's not sure why the ketchup dogs are literally only inside the basement and nowhere else in the facility and where their containment cell is and stuff. You'll eventually find yourself in the storage room in the early game where a bunch of SCP-939s are roaming. But how did the 939s get to the basement so fast? Seriously, the place is infested with them and they are in no other parts of the facility. And you guys pointed out something that I legitimately never even thought of, which was the fact that the Lizzie boys are literally just in transit to be moved to another facility or to be brought here from another facility, and that's just when the containment breach happened, when they were in storage. And I absolutely love the idea that all of the boxes in the basement just have a bunch of ketchup doggos inside of them and they can't get out, and now I'm gonna think about that every single time I play the game. It's legitimately one of the funniest things I've ever read. And then he goes on to talk about SCP-682, the giant lizard, and how the Foundation was able to contain him in the facility. Like, did they dig a giant hole and throw him in there and then just cover it up, or like put a door there? I mean, how did he break out and stuff? One of the other endings for the game shows SCP-682, the hard-to-kill lizard, breaking out of containment and wreaking havoc on all of the mobile task force on the surface. But my question is, how did he break out of containment? He's underground. Does his containment chamber just have a giant door in the ceiling that can open and that he can crawl out of? Surely that's the biggest security risk known to man, right? Like, even if it is normally locked, why would the Foundation ever install any door that's big enough for SCP-682 to crawl out of? And while these are pretty convincing arguments, he fails to realize that SCP-682's entire anime journey is just being a menace to society. And no matter what, if they covered him with a giant door or 10,000 feet of steel, whatever, he'd invariably be cranking 90s and hitting the gritty on anybody that tried to stop him from escaping. I want to stress that sometimes miracles do occur, and on one occasion I did find myself agreeing with Wyatt, and that's his whole take on SCP-294. Why isn't 294 in a containment cell? It's the only SCP object that isn't contained in any way regardless of the containment breach. And why is it in the cafeteria? Someone just installed it here. A lot of people criticized him, I think incorrectly, on the fact that SCP-294 in the original article is contained in the cafeteria and has 2 armed guards around him and stuff like that. But I think a lot of people fail to really appreciate SCP-294. Like, boys, if your coffee machine is able to spawn black holes just by typing in black hole, or has more ways to destroy the world than it does coffee brands and only requires a level 2 clearance to do this, then that ain't your coffee machine. That's a weapon of mass destruction. You can't just slap a free coffee sign onto a nuclear warhead and call it a day. I mean, the whole plot of SCP Containment Breach is that these Chaos Insurgency got to level 4 clearance and did a bunch of wacky stuff, but they didn't think about just using their level 2 clearance to walk up to the vending machine and type in butthole demons or EMP to destroy the facility. I mean, no offense, I know there are 2 armed guards, but it's really quick to type in the word EMP and press enter. However, that's about where all of the agreements end. SCP Wyatt then goes on to commit a cardinal sin and mention that there's only like 3 SCPs that are friendly. In the over 7,000 confirmed SCPs, I can only think of like 3 that are not actively trying to make you their own personal dick lube every single waking second. This is just invariably false, and one of the coolest things that I love about the SCP community is unironically the fact that there are so many SCPs that aren't just conventional murder monsters. In fact, there's literally the SCP, yet another murder monster, one of my favorites, 5031. And the SCP community, time and time again, goes back and revises old articles, or they have these alternate stories that add way more depth to otherwise very meaningless SCPs, or SCPs that are usually just brainless murder monsters, like Peanut's origin story and 096's origin story. And I think it's legitimately one of the cooler things the SCP community does. However, he is 100% right in the classification system for SCPs have gotten way too out of hand. One of the greatest sins committed to God by the SCP fandom is how complicated everything is. If you're currently looking at the image on screen, you may also be praying to your God as to what the hell you're even looking at. No, what you're looking at is not the lore to Five Nights at Freddy's, no matter how similar it looks. Instead, it's the average flowchart one takes when trying to classify any SCP item. I don't know why the SCP Foundation website has like 10,000 different layouts to it, and at this point, I'm honestly too afraid to ask. And there are a few other parts of the videos that I didn't really bother to get into. If you want to check them out yourself, Godspeed and good luck. And like I said earlier, don't spread too much hate even to people like him who deserve it. Smiles go the miles, and if you really want to stick it to him, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the guy. And make sure you check out my upcoming videos, why SCP Containment Breach is really the worst SCP game ever to exist in the world, and then my follow-up video, this is the worst SCP Containment Breach review. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Bye-bye.